You got any of that good body horror? Oh, come on, man. Come on. I'll suck your dick. I grew up on body horror. I mean, Cronenberg's The Fly, Carpenter's The Thing. It was my jam. And director Julia Ducournau is keeping that flame alive. I mean, they had a whole movement in France, the French extremity movement, that was pretty much based on body horror. And Ducournau has staked her career on it. Raw, her debut, I had mixed feelings about, but it showed a strong new voice. And then there was Titan, her Palme-winning film in 2021. 5 years later, she is back with a new body horror film that didn't quite get the same reception at Cannes. Does this show Ducournau maturing as a filmmaker? Or does it show that she is stuck in a body horror rut? Alpha is set in 1980s France, where rebellious 13-year-old Alpha passes out at a party and gets a tattoo. Her mom is of course furious, but also frightened that Alpha might have contracted a new virus going around. This virus seemingly turns its carriers into marble stone. Enter Amin, Alpha's uncle, who is a junkie who comes to stay with the family. He is stricken with this disease and has coped by shooting heroin. Though Alpha isn't a carrier, she is treated as a pariah at her school, which pushes her closer to her uncle and encourages her to behave in riskier and riskier ways. Can Alpha reconcile with her mom, keep safe from this virus, and understand her uncle? Ducournau has always featured fucked up families in her films. And even though Alpha has body horror elements, it's above all a family drama. So you would think with a relatively simple premise that this movie wouldn't do the French thing and confuse the hell out of its audience with narrative trickery. So we get present-day Alpha and all her tribulations mixed with flashbacks of a younger Alpha and her doctor mom working in the hospital as this virus has spread. Ducournau is more interested in creating a tapestry, a web of all three of these characters. And with this being set in the 1980s with a virus, our brains go in one direction: the AIDS epidemic. The virus presumably spreads by blood, but the rules of this virus aren't quite clear, because sometimes at the hospital people wear masks when treating patients, and like with the mom, sometimes they don't. I suppose you're not supposed to think about all of this literally, where Ducournau goes in a direction I was hoping she wouldn't, but then she does, and she makes kind of a giant mess of her whole narrative, to where the present and the flashback and this trinity of family members just raises more and more questions. My biggest question is, why make a metaphorical virus movie set in the 80s when AIDS was a real virus that struck so many people? I guess you could say it's because her idea for this virus is really cool. It's very elegant and beautiful and horrifying all in one. And it represents Ducournau at her best, which is creating discomfort in the audience about our own bodies, about how fragile they are. The problem is this virus remains just an idea, just a metaphor. And though it brings these family members closer, it doesn't reveal much more about them we already know at the beginning. But through all the melodramatic acting, as good as it is, you would think the weight that this premise carries would lead us into a cathartic end. Perhaps Ducournau feels it's cathartic, but even though visually it pays off a few ideas, narratively, it's a gigantic mess. And it's tough because these three actors are exceptional. Golshifteh Farahani might be best known to American audiences from the Extraction films, but she has done amazing work in Iran and in France here. And Tahar Rahim as the uncle is one of the best actors working in France. So it pains me that most American audiences know him as the bad guy from Madam Web. Seriously, this guy was in A Prophet, an incredible film from 2009. Please watch it. And then there's Melissa Boros as Alpha, which I have no idea why Alpha is named that, but whatever, who has to shoulder a lot of the emotional weight here. And even though she doesn't quite achieve a full rich character, perhaps because there just isn't one on the page, we at least empathize with her enough. But empathy and metaphors and cool ideas and excellent body horror are simply not enough. Ducournau has given us some incredible images, but here she's just unable to marry it with a good story. Alpha is a big disappointment from Julia Ducournau after her Palme-winning Titan. Though it has some cool body horror, it suffers under the weight of all its metaphors. I give Alpha a regrettable 2 out of 5 stars. If you like this review, please like and subscribe or follow me on Letterboxd at RamirzS316. So with this and Wuthering Heights and The Bride, the first quarter of the year, I've given 3 female-directed movies 2 out of 5 stars. So I guess I'm a terrible ally.